What's going on, guys? Billy here, and today I wanted to put my speculation cap on and begin to discuss the future of the Mavic Pro line of drones. Now, I busted out the original Mavic Pro, the OG here. This came out a little under 5 years ago. It was DJI's first foldable drone. I can't believe it's been that long since this drone released. But anyway, this next professional level Mavic, I've got no idea what it's going to be called. It could be the Mavic Pro 3. It could be the Mavic 3 Pro, following suit of the Mavic 2 Pro naming scheme and the Mavic 2 Zoom naming scheme. But here's the thing. If you look at all the products that DJI has been releasing recently, they've totally dropped the product name in favor for the brand name, right? So the Osmo Pocket has turned into the DJI Pocket, and the Osmo Mobile has turned into the OM, and the Mavic Air has turned into just the Air with the Air 2S. So what are we going to see this drone be called in the future? I've got no idea. It could just be called the Pro. That'd be kind of weird, but I think a cool name for it would be the Mavic. That would be pretty cool because that name Mavic has such a great recognition, and to kind of just throw that to the side, it would be a shame. Now, typically I don't like to do these speculation style videos because I'm usually never right, and also I don't like to speak about things that I don't have factual evidence to back up, but Russ kind of pressured me. Now, I believe the last time that I made a wishlist video like this one was about 4 years ago. It was uploaded on December 27th, 2016, and it was about what I wanted to see in the Phantom 5. This video was uploaded so long ago that it was before I even showed my face on camera on my YouTube channel, and instead, I just commentated over drone footage. Also, fun fact, when this video was uploaded, I was still a freshman in college. Now, I'm totally out of college and fully graduated. That video right there is the main reason why I haven't uploaded a wishlist video since, because with it being uploaded in 2016, have we seen a Phantom 5 yet? No, we haven't. Now, since then, we did see an upgrade to the Phantom 4 series with like the Phantom 4 Pro, and then they also came out with a downgrade in like the Phantom 4 Advanced, but regardless, we haven't seen a Phantom 5, and I don't really feel comfortable speculating on new drones because they don't have a set release cycle. Like, we always know a new iPhone is coming towards the end of the year, we know a new Samsung Galaxy is coming towards the beginning of the year, right? Those are things that we can bank on, but in terms of like the drone release cycle from DJI, it's kind of all over the place. Sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes we get a weird mid-cycle refresh, like going from the Mavic Air 2 to the Air 2S. So again, it's not really a definite, and that's why I usually don't like to discuss it here on the channel. Now, to really quickly just bring the subject back to the Phantom 5, it's also really funny to see all of the terrible leaks of what people think that DJI's next Phantom drone is going to look like. And the next Mavic has also been a culprit with some of the most ridiculous mashups that I've ever seen of like a Mavic and an Inspire body mashed together. This time around, though, I feel a little bit more comfortable uploading a speculation style video like this one because I truly believe that a new professional level Mavic is coming from DJI in the short term future, and I've got some reasoning to back this up. So first of all, the Mavic 2 Pro is just old at this point, right? It's like 2.5 to 3 years old. In fact, I believe this August or this September is going to be its third birthday, its third year since it was officially announced, released, and shipped out to customers. And even though it's not showing its age, like, it's still a very good drone that holds its own in the foldable drone market. It has a lot of pressure coming in from a lot of different angles, right? DJI themselves are putting pressure on the Mavic 2 Pro with their new Air 2S. This drone is smaller, it's lighter, it costs less, and it does a lot of the same things that the Mavic 2 Pro does. So this is their trickle-down effect. We see all these great features from the Pro level drone make their way down to the entry-level drone, and then they'll go down even further, maybe to the Mini, for example, but that's a topic for another video. But it's just crazy that we see like the 1-inch sensor and the OcuSync transmission system make its way down to the mid-tier drone. So that means what's next for the professional level drone, right? Also, DJI has some competition from outside of their own lineup with the Autel Evo 2 Pro. It's a good drone. It's got a kick-ass spec sheet, but unfortunately, it doesn't fly all that well. Of course, in previous videos, I've shown that my Evo just kind of kicks to the side randomly. I don't really know why, but unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why I don't really fly the Evo all that much, and instead, I'm relying on my DJI drones. Now, because this is a speculation style video, I figured we'd have some fun with it and turn it into like a wish list video. So I'm going to go over 5 things that I want to see in the new professional level Mavic from DJI, and to make it even more fun, I teamed up with Russ over at 51 Drones. He's going to give 5 things that he wants to see in the new professional level Mavic. So I guess if you want, you can go over and check out his video, but maybe stick here, watch my video first, and then go check his out. So this list here is 5 of the most important features that I really want to see in the next professional level Mavic drone. I of course hope it's very feature packed with more than just these upgrades, but off the top of my head, these are some of the most important things to me. Most of them are definitely focused on the camera because I admittedly am very happy with the aircraft of the Mavic 2 Pro, but would love to get more from the camera for better looking photos and videos. Now with DJI's Mavic Pro line being seen as like the highest end foldable camera drone that you can buy, I think that they need to start adding features to the drone itself that cater more towards the camera to make it feel more professional, right? Like specs are great, but there's also a lot of other features that are built into a camera that make it seem and feel more professional. One of these features is dual SD card slots. I'm shooting on the A7 III right now, so I can put 2 SD cards inside of it. So why not on a new Mavic Pro be able to put 2 micro SD cards inside of it? Having 2 cards inside of your camera, whether it's in a drone or whether it's in a mirrorless camera, is really beneficial for a couple of different reasons. So first of all, it's more redundant, right? So you can shoot photos and videos and write those to 2 separate memory cards or 2 separate SD cards so that you have 2 versions of those files. So if one SD card were to fail or if you lose one SD card, you've got a backup as a just in case. That's how I typically record here on my Sony A7 III. But also if you're recording a lot of footage, you can use them as their own independent storage and effectively double how much space is on your drone in this case, right? So if you've got 2 32 gig cards, you can then have a full total of 64 gigabytes of storage. So there are a couple of ways that you can use it. Personally, I'd probably use it as a redundant option, but let's take this a little bit further. What if you crash your drone? What if you lose it, right? Let's say that you've got 2 SD cards inside of that drone. Having that redundant footage isn't going to help you. And that is why cached footage and the AutoSync HD feature in like the Mavic 2 Pro is really helpful because it saves those high resolution photos and videos to your mobile device while you fly as you shoot them. So if you lose your drone and it goes down in say the water and you can't retrieve it, you've got those files on your mobile device. For those of you wondering on the Air 2S why it records or why it shoots like RAW photos and JPEG photos, it's so that it can send those JPEG photos to your mobile device so that if your drone crashes, you've got those full resolution JPEG photos on your mobile device. It is a pretty cool feature, but nonetheless, I do hope that they add redundant or I guess dual SD card slots for further redundancy. So with the release of the Mavic 2, there were 2 drones released with only one difference separating them, and that was the camera. The Pro had a larger sensor with a higher megapixel count, while the Zoom had a smaller sensor with the ability to optically zoom in 2 times without losing quality. Personally, I never really understood this move from DJI to release 2 drones that were so identical, with the only separating factor being the camera on the front, and the camera wasn't user swappable. At least it wasn't recommended by DJI. I know that there were some people that would do it on their own, but the parts weren't readily available to buy there right on their website. I really like the way that Autel went with their Evo 2, where you could buy just the camera and swap it yourself. It made it very easy, and I think that if DJI did that and continued to support the Mavic 2 airframe with new cameras, with like newer focal lengths and bigger sensors, it could be a pretty good idea, and it would invest people into that ecosystem, but instead you'd have to send it back to them to swap the cameras, and it just really didn't make all that much sense. Here's an idea though: ditch the whole multiple camera thing. Don't make people choose which one they want to buy. Take what makes both cameras best, combine them together to make one camera that rules them all. That's one with like a nice large sensor, a high megapixel count, one that can shoot nice high resolution video, and one that can optically zoom for lossless image quality, right? We see that digital zoom is like a big thing in these DJI drones now, like in the Mavic Air 2, in the Air 2S, right? You can digitally zoom in on your image all the way up to 8 times. So it only makes sense that in a brand new professional level Mavic, it's going to have that optical zoom to give you lossless quality, right? Because it's obviously better than digital zoom. Now there is a valid argument to the whole entire optical zoom thing, right? Some people are going to say that they would rather interchangeable lenses. Personally, I don't think that they could make the jump from like a Mavic 2 Pro to a Mavic 3 and include the interchangeable lenses. Sure, we could see that at some point put into a drone this small, but I just don't think that it's ready for like a Mavic 3 release type of thing. But here's the thing, in a drone, I'd personally prefer to use optical zoom rather than interchangeable lenses, because on a camera like the A7 III, I can just take a lens off and put a lens on and just keep going and shooting. But if I'm flying a drone with interchangeable lenses, I've got to land it, I've got to turn it off, I've got to potentially recenter and realign the gimbal, I've got to take the lens off, put the lens on, all of this stuff. Whereas instead, if I was using optical zoom, I could stay in the air, I could zoom in and just continue to fly. So personally, I think optical zoom is the best way to go in the case of like a Mavic drone, and I hope I hope we see that included with like a larger sensor. So again, we get the best of both worlds. Now with the recent release of DJI's Air 2S, they've solidified the fact that a new professional level Mavic is imminent, as this drone features a lot of the same great features as the Mavic 2 Pro and then some. The one feature in particular that puts it right on its heels is the 1-inch sensor that has always been found in the much higher end drones. Now remember, in the beginning of this video, we discussed the trickle down effect, where these higher end professional level drones begin to trickle down their features to the intermediate drone and then the beginner drone as that professional level drone gains new and even more groundbreaking features. And one of those features is the 1-inch sensor, right? The Air 2S now has a big, beautiful 1-inch sensor inside of this new camera system. The design resembles that of the Mavic 2 Pro, and this camera looks pretty big on the Air 2S. I mean, if you remember what the smaller Mavic Air 2 camera looks like, this camera looks like a giant. So that makes me believe that when we look at the camera system on the Mavic 2 Pro, they've got room to fit a larger camera on the same exact platform. Now, I wonder if it's going to be a little bit bigger. I'm sure that the drone will be a little bit bigger to accommodate maybe a bigger battery, a bigger camera on the front, maybe more sensors around. So I could see them going just a little bit larger, but you've got to wonder like how much larger, and how much larger is too big, right? Because people already think that maybe this isn't the best to travel with. They'd rather go with like a Mini or an Air, but like how much bigger are they going to make that drone? Regardless, honestly, I would take a larger drone if it has a better camera, because I'm a stickler for image quality. I'm somebody that it's when they're flying their drone, I always like to get the highest resolution photo and video possible, because you're so far away from your subject, and if you want to crop in and zoom in, you've got all of that room to do so digitally. So what are they going to add in there? I don't know. There's rumors floating around of maybe like a micro 4/3 sensor. Who knows what the sensor size is going to be, but I think regardless, it has to be larger than that 1-inch sensor, because they wouldn't just copy what they put in their intermediate drone. They want this drone, their professional level drone, to stand out. Now, stepping away from the camera on the drone, finally, something that I've really been craving from a camera drone is more speed. This desire recently has been further fueled by DJI's FPV drone that can reach an advertised speed of 87 miles per hour, but I think that anybody that owns this drone knows that can go a little bit faster than 87 miles an hour. Now look, I understand a foldable Mavic drone is never going to reach the same speed as like, you know, a nice small FPV drone that's built for speed, but I hope that we can get a little bit of a faster top speed in this drone. Like what, right? We've been dealing with 45 miles an hour as our top speed since the original Mavic Pro. These two drones, the Mavic Pro and Mavic 2 Pro, are the same speed. The flight characteristics are a little bit different, but that max speed in sport mode is the same between both drones. And it was the same in the Phantom 4. So 45 miles an hour has been like that upper limit on these drones for so long, and I want to shatter that. I want to go 55, 60 miles an hour with my camera drone. That would be great, not only for getting from point A to point B, but it would also be great to get those nice, dynamic, fast-moving shots chasing after a subject or capturing just a landscape, being able to move quicker than that 45-mile-an-hour top speed. And with all of this, I hope that DJI can integrate it into their drone and not have the same camera issues that the Mavic 2 Pro has when flying in sport mode, where the camera just kicks down to the ground. So with that speed, definitely has to come a well-designed gimbal. For those of you that might have been subscribed to my channel for like the past 2 or 3 years, you know that I was actually craving more speed from my GPS drones, so much to the point where I went out and picked up the Inspire 2 because of how powerful it was. I had so much fun chasing trains and boats with that drone, but at the end of the day, it was just huge, and I would rather use something more portable. If I could get this kind of speed in the Inspire 2 from a Mavic though, or at least a speed closer to what the Inspire offered, I would be pumped. With this potential faster top speed though is going to come some issues that need to be dealt with along the way. So for one, I already mentioned it, that gimbal issue. I mean, imagine the pitch of the drone at 45 miles an hour. It's already pitching pretty far forwards to the point where on the Mavic 2 Pro, the camera shoots down to the ground to compensate for that pitch. So imagine if we were doing 60 with the drone. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to look up like 45 degrees with the camera. So that's something that they have to overcome. Also, imagine with a faster top speed, what's the flight time going to be like? Is there going to be stronger motors? Are they going to be bigger? What about the battery? Does the battery have to be bigger to now add more power to the drone? There's a lot of questions, but I think that DJI will give us like a happy medium, a drone that still retains a really good amount of flight time. It also gives us a good amount of power, but also is going to give us a higher top speed, I hope, because 45 miles an hour just kind of seems slow now. So moving on to the fifth thing on my wish list here, right now, there are 3 different main styles of remote controllers sold with DJI's drones. The older foldable design with the built-in LCD screen that comes with the Mavic 2 series of drones, the newer fixed remote controller with a phone clamp on the top side of the remote that's shipped with the Mini 2 and the Air series, and finally the smart controller that sort of acts as a universal remote for most of DJI's drones with a built-in bright screen. This is their more premium offering that is sold bundled with certain drones, but is also a standalone accessory available for purchase. It's no doubt that DJI is moving forwards with this remote design for the future of their drones. I mean, this shipped with their past 3 drones, the Mini 2, the Mavic Air 2, as well as the Air 2S, but this just isn't going to cut it for a professional level drone. And I don't think that they're going to go and replace the smart controller anytime soon with like a standard remote controller with a built-in screen. So they've got to find a happy medium, because remember, with all the previous professional level Mavics, it has some sort of built-in screen in some capacity. To change up this remote, I think that they could do 2 things. First of all, make it a little bit wider so that there's more to hold on to. With this extra size, they could also fit an OLED screen, almost like a little square or a little strip that shows important telemetry data towards the bottom. This could replace the current LCD screen on the Mavic 2's remote, but obviously an OLED screen would give you that contrast with a deeper back backdrop that could be easier seen in bright sunlight. I don't think that DJI would go as far as putting an OLED screen on a remote like this that could view the live feed of the drone. It would kind of defeat the purpose of the smart controller. I mean, this certainly would probably fit a bigger screen than this, and these remotes do have very similar design cues to them, right? They're very similar in design in a lot of different ways, but I still think that DJI is going to have that premium remote style, something that you can upgrade to for a higher dollar amount, right? Something that is going to give you a better experience than the stock remote controller. Remember, there has to be a stock version of the remote and then something to upgrade to, which I like. And that begs the question of like, what's going to be in the smart controller too? Because even though this really can't change all that much for the better, I do think that they could like upgrade the internals, maybe give it a better battery life, maybe a bigger screen, a brighter screen. So even though the design of the remote is great, I think they could do some to tweak the internals of it. And that kind of just leaves me excited for what's to come from DJI, because I think there's a lot in the pipeline on the professional side of things. They gave us a new beginner drone in the Mini 2. They gave us a new intermediate drone in the Air 2S. But now what's up for the professionals? What's up for the Mavic 3? What's up for What's up for the Phantom 5? I feel like that's just a joke now in the community. But regardless, those are the 5 things I want to see inside of the new Mavic 3. I had the dual SD card slots, the optical zoom, a bigger sensor, a faster top speed, and some sort of upgraded remote controller.
Okay, look, Billy, I understand that you're still pretty new to this whole drone thing, and you did come up with some pretty good ideas right there, but you didn't even talk about hot swap batteries. You didn't talk about the fact that DJI has not really improved anything when it comes to obstacle avoidance, other than throwing on a couple of extra sensors just to make us feel good. So if you all would like to continue this conversation about what we'd like to see on the next Mavic series drone, come on over to my channel and check them out. Have a good day, everyone. Peace.